I am Shoker. It's really hard to see any faces because the light is like blinding me. So I can see some people. Oh, my friends are here, lovely people. I just want to let you know this is the first time I've been on like a real stage in a very long time. Because of COVID, I've been doing a lot of online shows, so it's really awesome to have our presence here together, and I'm hoping to just make it a really great time. I am a poet. I've got my cup of cha in here. I am Punjabi Canadian, second generation. My parents came from Punjab, India in the 80s and 70s, and then settled in Canada. And I was born in Calgary and came over to Vancouver about 4 years ago. So I've been making my way here, and I've been doing some spoken word, some written poetry. I'm a co-founder of a collective called Muzza Collective, and we'll be putting out an anthology. But really, my whole shtick is that I want to uphold and uplift South Asian voices. So you're in for a treat, and I'm a little nervous, so don't mind if I'm a bit shaky. This first poem is always dedicated to my mom. My mother is the reason why I'm here on this stage. She has upheld me through so much, and without her support, I don't know where I would be today. So I always like to start my shows with an homage to my mom, and this one is called Mango Butter. Hi, Phil. I cradle a mango. A setting sun weighed heavily against the ribbing of my bony brown fingers, a bursting sunset through a honey chest, a hero's heart bleeding all its love into my memory. My mother brings the ripe mango sliced with lazy precision, greedy plump fingers, almond ripe from the sun, residue of roti and haldi making half moons under fingernails, peel the blushing skin back, slurping, suckling soft flesh, teeth grating at sweet skin, strings of mango gritted in my teeth, siblings centered around the celebrity dessert until the carcass of curling skins and grated mango bone are siphoned off the table by my mother. I weigh this embryo, rising sun in my womb. Memories of mango clinging in bony teeth emanate through the ribs of my fingers, nimble bones that know the grooves to cut my heart. Its color fades from the rigid green of innocence, blushing and blooming crimson, flirting as if it knows the color of hunger on a tempered tongue. At what age do a woman's legs ripen? Thighs growing soft in honey womb folds, soft creases emanate from stems, stretch marks bringing hips home, where nimble fingers know the grooves to cut my heart, where nimble fingers know the grooves to make a woman bear burden. I try to carve imprecise slices of 90s immigrant mom. Full-time means gritty labor through day and gritted teeth through night, hustling human efficiency through the day and bustling babies and husband to bed at night, where imprecise mango slices are a royal dessert for a queen mother's life. So my bony fingers feel her plump, squeeze and bruise sweet flesh. Brown spots are her soft eyes, and I peel back her ripened skin, wrinkled from her tired mouth, the soft folds of her womb waiting for mango carcasses and yawning sticky mouths and spiced fingers, but I try and slurp up her memories. Grate my teeth along her sacrifice as if I could take her will, have it spit gritty in my teeth, give way to these words so that when I carve mangoes with my daughters, we eat together, slurp joy and free and ease, for a royal queen's dessert. Thank you. It's called Mango Butter. I wrote it for my mom, I think around Mother's Day 2 years ago. And I read it to her on Mother's Day over the phone, and I could just hear her kind of quietly crying. And I was like, oh, Mom, it's a sweet poem. It's, I really appreciate everything that you did, and I want to make things better. And she's like, yeah, I know. I don't really get all of it, but I really appreciate it. It was really sweet. And that, I would say, is what it was like growing up with my mom. She's like, supports me, but doesn't really understand what I do, and it's great. This one is really close to my heart. This next poem is called Maybe Canadian. I wrote this poem after Jagmeet Singh did his first campaign trail. He went to Quebec, somewhere in Quebec, and an elderly gentleman went up to him and gave him some unsolicited advice about his appearance. He said to him, we're in Canada, you should cut your turban off, right? And then Jagmeet's like, no, it's okay, Canadians can look very many ways. And he says, well, in Rome, you should do as Romans do, and you'd look more Canadian if you just cut your turban off. And Jagmeet Singh handled it with the grace that he has, and then people just kind of showed this weird clip and no one ever really talked about it. But to me, that was a profound moment, seeing that even still, my people and my heritage has not been accepted by most Canadians, not most Canadians, but some Canadians. So this poem is inspired from that experience. An old white man preaches, "In Rome you do as Romans do." Is that what Romans drawled as they beheaded unwilling Gauls? How could one know they woke in Gaul how could one know they woke in Rome when they went to bed Gallic? How could one know they were Roman until they felt the sentinel sword at the base of their neck? My mother keeps her shorn braid bundled next to the nithinum, wrapped in a blue rumal like royal courage. Long, thick memories braided and preserved, years of salon d'attelle and fine-tooth combs. My masi, my nani, my manji. She keeps her braids safe by her wedding bangles and her birth certificates. I wonder if she keeps this rope of dignity coiled next to her holy hymns. The stripped live wire to her real self still conducts electricity, tar bijli se, pulsing through the thick strands of her devotion. I wonder if the Gauls ever touched their trinkets at night, prayed to their gods, murmured, "I love you," to their ancestors. I find a photo of Stanley Park 84. My mom is a titali in a red salwar kameez, her chunni flirting petals behind her, and I think of when she cut her braid. And I wonder if she touches it at night, after ardas, praying that though she may look Roman and act as Romans do, she is still sick, despite the sentinel shears at the base of her neck. In British Raj, you do as the British do. Is that what generals screeched as they beheaded Sepoy Sikhs? How could one know they woke in the empire when they went to bed in Punjab? My mother's braid swings as she turns her head, and I wonder what drove her to the sickle. She cut the live wire to the identity that she braided before bed, weaving generations of sacrifice. But when those same fingers, nimble fingers, braided my thick hair every morning using the same mustard seed oil to smooth my unruly head, I whimpered and wailed, resented the hair that sprouted from my fingers and toes, upper lip and sideburns, straggly copper wiring that short-circuited my identity. As my peers mocked me for my tangled forest, I prayed to Roman gods, resented my mother's live wires, begging just to be like everyone else, just to be Canadian. And I wonder if I'd heard what the British said, and saw the photos of kerosene heads, knew that Western women pay for silky extensions, memories exploited from Indian slums, would I have braided my bloodline at night? Prayed to my Waheguru with devotion, murmured, "I love you," to my manji. I think of a young man, his bloodline braided atop his head, protected by a shroud of royal courage, a blue turban, a blue dastar. Wonder how much he fought Roman gods as he asked, what in Canada do Canadians do? Because how could one know they were Canadian until they felt an old white man's blade upon their neck? Alas, Jagmeet, you should cut your turban off and you'll look like a Canadian. There's a backstory behind that poem too. I shared this at CFSW, which is the Canadian Spoken Word Festival. It's a festival where all these teams from different cities come together and compete on a national stage. And we were doing this poem at, what's it called? At like a place where veterans hang out. I can't remember what it's called. Yeah, the Legion. We had to perform at the Legion. And it was kind of like this bar situation. And clearly the people who were attending the Legion didn't know what was going to happen. Some people came in. One of my friends was wearing a hijab. They told her that she had to remove her hijab because you couldn't cover your hair in respect at the Legion, and it caused this huge kerfuffle. And then I slammed that poem, and quickly made it out of there, so I didn't have to deal with anyone after that. So these stories are still, they cause a lot of tension, and there's a place for these stories still. And I wanted to give my perspective from that, being one of those people who really hated and internalized a lot of racism for myself, and still struggle to this day whether or not I should keep my hair or whether or not I should cut it. It's more than just a girl problem. And this was just a spicy one that I wrote when I was thinking about Medusa. I was watching, Perseus? Remember in like the 2000s, they did these like terrible Greek mythology movies. It was like Perseus and Troy, and everyone was like, yeah, Greek mythology. And Perseus goes and like tries to kill Medusa and brings her head and stuff like that. And I was like, poor Medusa, she just got like wrecked. For what? Like, she wasn't doing anything. They went to her house, and then she's like, leave me alone. And then they're like, no, give me your head. So I wrote a poem about Medusa because I think she deserves a little bit better. I have two titles for this poem. One is Medusa, Lady of Torment, and that's the one that I use when I'm feeling angry. The other one is Medusa, Lady of Justice, when I feel like there's hope in the world. So you can choose either one. I hear the stories of my legend reverberate between the statues, hunters posing still in my sanctuary where I am the monstrosity of womanhood. The ugly huntress whose seething glare and serpent crown reduces men to the mud from which they were sown. I hear the stories groan from the astonished stone, their faces fixed in awe and asphyxiation. Whispers break through the cracks of valorous men in this abbey of monuments, this temple of doom. They say, you will come for my head, a proud prize for her maiden hand, a crown of pink roses on her golden head, yet I, a pretty plaything with my serpent crown, circling my stony gaze. Yet, when I was a girl, I learned I could only writhe and gyrate like exotic succubi and sirens whose skin could be paired for pretty dressing, while she, with the alabaster face, demure and lowered eye, could sing and speak and skip. And when girls can sing and speak, they can be heard from sunny meadows. Yet, when I writhe in the shadows, where hands take maiden heads and scales develop in the deepest hue, bruises form scars that could not be seen in the dark. And I wonder if they were taught how to skin their prey before they were taught how to love a colored girl. A monster is only born from the black and blue of shadow. I learned how to skin my prey before I learned how to forgive hurt. I mended ivory skin over snake bones and weaved my own laurel crown. Perched upon my scaly armor, I learned how to molt, gyrating between the rough statues, eroding the horror of eternal imprisonment. I fashioned my weaponry from the torment that lingered in their headstone hands. They say you will come for my Gorgon head, hold it high above a violent sea, reclaiming your torment that lives in my dead gaze to stun all the other beasts with the horror of a survivor. Yet they call you a poor boy. So come to me, honey. I'll weave you in my crown, and when your men come to torment, I'll stun them with the sins of their very own, men atoning in stone. Thank you. It's sad because they do kill her, and that's what makes it hard to reconcile with these thoughts and these narratives. But I hope that there will be a Lady of Justice, and that it doesn't end in torment. This last one is a really important poem to me. It's something that I struggle with constantly. I don't know how to reclaim myself. I don't know how to decolonize myself. There's nobody teaching you how to do these things. So for me, I just have to decide what feels good and how to do these things, whether or not these battles are worth it. And sometimes it can be taking agency in the smallest ways, like reclaiming my name. So this poem is about my name. Kiranjit Shoker. He says he was giving me a gift by letting me keep my last name, as if it was a privilege he could bequeath, as if he could conquer my tongue, set his throne behind my teeth, guide my lips to pronounce his ego, as if it didn't really matter because when we were married, he'd own me anyhow. He says I should gift my children his name. He says gift with the weight that I owe him grace, so that he may feign gratitude. He says gift with the weight that I owe him selflessness, that girls are only good when they sacrifice. But when is coercion ever selfless? Will my children have the name of a thief who takes their mother's grace for power, a charity for the rich man who will steal my last name and taunt me with his? So call me Kiranjit. My teachers ask, what does your name mean? Well, Kiran means sunshine, and Jeet means victory. But this English translation is too weak. It is sunshine, as in the heat that causes air to quiver and earth to burn, or the blinding gold Hindus perform ablutions to in Varanasi, or the delicious warmth that is nectar from the stars. It is victory, as in the glory that makes kings bow to paupers, the dignity of a steel bangle in a humble battle, the resilience of proliferation through strife, a name that has conquered oceans and centuries and been nursed in a womb, yet for having come such a long distance, English tongues are too tired to pronounce my name, to greet me with dignity. See, victory is only honorable when it is white. So my teachers begin to call me Kiran. But now I shudder against the whitewash, lime and plaster crumbling as my name scrapes to escape, splattering through my talcum tongue in the fear of my inability to relate. I'd starched my heart and bleached my brain, because how can such a cold place that forces colored folk to forget in order to belong accept my name? Now I bear on my tongue what my heart has always known, that the air around me aches with heat. I am liquid lambda of honey and gold. I am dignity and glory and resilience. I am graceless, selfish, a rich woman, for when my children know my last name, they will consume the ocean of my heart. I am the victory to life. I am Kiranjit Gaur Shoker. Thank you. And that's it. That's all I gotta say. Actually, I think that's all I'm allowed to say. But if you would like to listen to more of my poetry, you can always follow me. My Instagram is Kiran the Muse, and I do a lot of spoken word stuff here and there, and do a little bit of written word. Also keep an eye out for Muzza Collective. We're going to be putting out our anthology in next summer. And it will have all of these stories and more stories, and it will be an amazing time. So thank you so much for holding me. Thank you for being an excellent audience, and thank you for supporting. Yeah.